Well, it's hard to win if you can't score. And the Tigers get shut out in game 2 of this series against the Athletics. We'll talk about that and some news and notes off the field all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, June 26th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Tigers lose 3-0 at the hands of I almost said Oakland Athletics. Man, that is really tough to not do. At the hands of the Athletics on Wednesday evening. Pretty quick ball game because there was not there was not, well, it felt like the Tigers weren't allowed to score. It kind of did feel like that. But no, the Tigers do not score very much. And honestly, the A's, outside of one swing in the third inning, also didn't produce very much offense. So, this game kind of flew by. And next thing you know, the Tigers fall to 50-31 on the season. Also, for you math whizzes at home, 50-31, that is 81 games into the season. 162 divided by 2 is, in fact, 81. So, I say that right? Anyway, you get my point. We're halfway through the season. At the halfway mark of the 2025 campaign, the Detroit Tigers have the best record in Major League Baseball. I think that's important perspective to keep in mind as we talk about this 3-0 loss. The A's, by the way, improved to 33-49. I want to get better at saying the opposing team's record as well, because I know a lot of us are trying to follow all of baseball. As well as the Detroit Tigers. My first thought is just that was an absolute dud. Like, it's not rocket science. Not really thinking about too much else. You can't win if you can't score. As I already said once, the pitching honestly did its job, in my opinion. Like, this is 3 runs. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating this, and I have all week. This is a solid offense that the A's are trotting out there. Like, do not get it twisted. This team is 16 games now under 500 because their pitching is an atrocity. And the Tigers just got shut out by them, which is obviously not a good sign. We'll talk plenty about that here in a second. But this is a solid, I almost say Oakland, like, because, and Benetti mentioned this earlier, like you're not supposed to say, the same thing over and over and over again. So it's like, oh, sometimes I'll say in Oakland, sometimes, and just you can't with this team. So shout out Benetti, but it's not a bad lineup card. There's a lot of players that can do damage, that have done damage, that are having solid seasons. That top 4 in this lineup on Wednesday night: Butler, Wilson, Rooker, Kurtz. That is 4 guys that are having really good seasons. And then, I mean, that's not even including Soderstrom, who got off to a really hot start this year and is having a solid year. You know what I mean? Like, there's Langoliers didn't play in this one, but like, that's another guy that there's a lot of solid offense, and they held him to 3 runs. 1 swing of the bat. That honestly probably shouldn't have even happened, in my opinion. But now you got to win tomorrow. And if you don't, then I think this series is a pretty big disappointment. If you drop a series and get shut out in one of the games to the Oakland Athletics, that's a disappointment. I don't really care how you slice it. So what went wrong? Obviously, the offense as a whole. It's not a surprise. I don't want to be a broken record here. Jacob Lopez, I want to start off by saying this, okay? And we'll dog on the offense here. I'm not trying to say like they don't deserve criticism. He was spinning that thing, though. Jacob Wilson, respect, okay? Mad respect. His ERA dropped by like a run in this outing. He's only given up a couple of runs in his last 2 or 3 starts now. He's had a pretty solid year. His peripherals are really solid as well. He doesn't throw the ball hard, but he's got that wild release angle, kind of, Chris Sale like mastered it in this generation, right? Like, you're basically throwing behind lefties. But he was really spinning that thing. And I feel like his arsenal reminds me a lot of, remember when Erod, when everyone still liked Erod and he was a Tiger before all the, stuff happened. Remember the 2-month stretch he had where he was literally like the leading Cy Young candidate in the American League? This is like May. Maybe it didn't even last 2 months. Maybe it was like 4 or 6 weeks where he was just unhittable. But he wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts. He was just missing a lot of barrels. That's what this felt like. And that's, he's got a decent amount of strikeouts on the year. That's not supposed to be like a disrespectful thing. But he just, it's 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Then it's a cutter that's a little bit slower. Then it's a two-seamer, right? A sinker that moves the other way. And then, it's all a bunch of pitches that tunnel the same way and that are just a bit off and get you off balance and miss the barrel. And the thing is, because the A's have no bullpen, he had to go deep into this game. I think in a perfect world, he's probably done after the 6th inning. They leave him out there. Certainly, we all thought he was done when the reliever literally ran out of the bullpen and then turned around and went back because the manager, Mark Koske, changed his mind while he was on the mound. I think Benetti called it a false start. Even, they let him out there. Over 100 pitches, let him out there to finish the job. And to his credit, he was able to do so. Righty, lefty, did not matter. The thing with the Tigers offense that has been frustrating to me this year, and this honestly dates back to the last couple of years, is I feel as though, and maybe this is bias because I watch my own team under a microscope and not, I don't watch 29 other teams with the same intent, I guess I'll say. That I do the Tigers, right? But or the same criticism maybe. But I think that one of the things that has frustrated me is that I feel as though opposing starting pitchers, the Tigers have a game plan going into these games against whoever the opposing, bulk pitcher is going to be. And when it works, it really works. And you see outings like Severino, right? Where it's they're not only are they tagging him, they're also raising the pitch count. And I feel like in the first, 6-ish weeks of the season, they were consistently knocking starting pitchers out of games in the 4th or 5th inning. And that changed a little bit in the middle of May to present day. And there's still been a couple of exceptions, obviously. But I feel as though it's a little too all or nothing for my liking. It really does feel like, okay, the Tigers are either going to knock the starting pitcher out and they're going to have a great offensive day, or this dude's going to dice us for 7+. And again, maybe there's nothing to support that and it's completely wrong and it's just me being overly critical because I watched every inning of this team. But that is just how I have felt over the last couple of weeks. Certainly. And the fact that he was hung out to dry because he doesn't have any reinforcements and he was still, Lopez was still able to make it through without giving up a run was really impressive by him, but really frustrating by the Tigers. So it's Major League Baseball, right? And the margin of error has never been thinner, between being really good and being average or even bad at of Major League level. But you have to be able to make adjustments on the fly. And I feel like the Tigers' offensive game plan has just not proven that they can do that against starting pitching. They have game plans for relievers. They've been able to have, score runs late. But I feel like once a starting pitcher is in his groove, the Tigers' offense has a really hard time breaking out of that. And that's been a reoccurring theme of the last month or so. Okay, let's get a little bit more specific with it. We can, put the offense under a microscope. We'll talk about some individuals. We'll do all of that. We'll obviously talk pitching and Flaherty and whatnot as well right after this. Got a talk deal today about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Whether into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources, and their latest product info can help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros that are looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping the series finale against Oakland and previewing the weekend ahead. Should be some, hopefully, good baseball played this weekend as well. So talking about this 3-0 loss to the Athletics, it really, man, something I have to address before we get back into the offense, okay? Because it bothered me so much. Gleyber Torres laid one of the worst tags I've ever seen in my life in this ball game, and I don't want to say directly caused the Tigers to lose the game because they got shut out, and I think that's probably unfair. I think that's certainly unfair, okay? They scored 0 runs against one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball. But the only runs that were scored by the Tiger or off of the Tigers pitching staff happened after just the most egregious display of tagging a base runner I've ever seen. That ball beat him, Lawrence Butler, by half an hour. He could have sat down, read the dictionary from cover to cover, and made himself breakfast. I don't know why I chose breakfast. And then still proceeded to lay a tag in more than enough time. I'm not kidding. The ball beat him by like seconds. Okay. It was not a split second thing. And I guess it was kind of a swim move, but it wasn't prime Javi out there. Like it wasn't some miraculous display of athleticism. He just kind of moved his shoulder a little bit. I mean, and he, some people have pointed this out, he might have been out. It did look like he came off the bag a little bit. And that Gleyber still had the ball on him. That's totally fair and fine. That doesn't actually change the fact at all that it was one of the worst tags I've ever seen. Out or safe on him, coming off the bag after he was already in there doesn't change the fact that that was that was the most frustrating part of the game. I was more mad about that than I was the offense at any point. I give mad credit to Lopez. I thought he was pitching really well. So that frustrated me beyond belief. Offensively, though, that's obviously the biggest point of emphasis here. The 4 through 9 hitters in this ball game went 1 for 19 with a walk. 1 hit and 1 walk. That's for all you math whizzes again. That's everyone besides the top 3. That is most of the lineup. 2/3 of the lineup. Torkelson, Wenceel Perez, Zach McKinstry, Dylan Dingler, Javi Baez, Parker Meadows. Parker Meadows had the walk. Wenceel Perez had the hit. Outside of that, 0 base runners from all of those fine gentlemen. One thing that we honestly haven't talked about too much on this show that for a couple of reasons, is Spencer Torkelson's slide over the last couple of weeks. His offensive numbers over the last 14 or 15 games are just horrific. We're talking OPS in the 400s, just absolutely brutal. I have a couple of thoughts here. We can maybe go, fully kind of break that down, assuming it remains and doesn't turn it around. On our next off day on Monday, we'll have a mailbag at that point as well. Don't ask your questions here, okay? Wait until Wait until I say to put your questions. But the one thing that is blatantly apparent about Torque is lately he has been getting benched a lot more against right-handed pitching. That is because he's hitting about 215 against righties. The OPS isn't terrible. He has 9 home runs off of righties. He's got a decent walk rate against them. He's not unplayable. The OPS is in the 700s, but his OPS is well into the 900s against lefties. So, with the way Colt Keith has been swinging the bat lately against righties, and the fact that he was told he was going to play first base this year, I would say that, yes, obviously he needs to keep hitting lefties just because that's where a lot of his value has come from. But I think it is in Torkelson's best interest to improve against right-handed pitching. Or else you're talking about a situation that might become strict platoon. Because Colt Keith's numbers against lefties this year aren't very good. Now, Colt Keith has never been a platoon hitter in his life. He hit lefties in the minors. He hit lefties better than he hit righties literally at the major league level last year. Okay, so long term, that frustrates me a lot, and I want to see Colt Keith get into the lineup card every day. I disagree with him being a pure platoon. But with Torkelson's inconsistent and kind of all over the place major league career, I think I have a hard time blaming management for benching him more against righties until he turns it around. Now, once he does, we can revisit this conversation. I'm not saying I want him to be a platoon hitter. Okay. Obviously, everyone wants this dude to be just the everyday first baseman and play well enough to deserve that. And at the end of the day, we're talking about like a 2 or 3 week stretch. Okay. I think you can actually date it back to like his last 28 games, 20, whatever Baseball Reference does. I think it's 28 games. The offensive numbers aren't very good. So, needs to get the swing back because it's a little out of whack mechanics-wise. It does not look the exact same way it did at the beginning of the year when he was crushing the baseball. Needs to make adjustments against right-handed pitching. That being said, he's still getting hits with runners in scoring position. He's still hitting lefties. And honestly, he's still hitting the ball hard. So I am not of the opinion that this is his true form. We were, duped again. Oh no, he's going to be, he's going to be back to unplayably terrible and get demoted again. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if in August he gets sent down because he's hitting 140 over a 3-month stretch, then so be it. We'll have that conversation. We'll talk about how wrong I am. But I am very far from that point personally. That's all. Okay, great. What went right in this ball game? And if that didn't feel like enough in the what went wrong section, again, remember, I 2/3 of the lineup were grouped into one category. So, we could go one by one, I guess, kind of talk about everybody, but let's talk about what went right. Again, I thought the pitching was pretty solid. I want to start with the bullpen. Actually, 0 earned runs from the pen in 3 innings of work. Carlos Hernandez was solid again. His command is clearly his weakness here, and I think if anyone can work with him and get him to be productive with his velocity, I believe it is the Tigers coaching staff. Okay, I have full faith in them at this point. But there's an extent to that. I couldn't join the Tigers tomorrow and become a sub-3 ERA pitcher. Okay, it is on the player ultimately, and so we'll see kind of how he goes forward and in what situations he's used in. But I've liked the stuff. It's the command that's kind of concerning to me. He seems to be kind of spraying it every time he's out there, not really sure where the ball's going. But we'll see how that situation progresses. Matt Gage, not the prettiest outing in the world. I don't think he had a single swing and miss, but gets out of it and got out of it without giving up a run. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. Dylan Smith, I thought, looked great. 1 2/3 of perfect. Nope, he hit a batter. So no walks and no hits, but not perfect. He did plunk a guy there, but then immediately got a double play right after. So I think he's been great. I think when he first got called up, he was also spraying the ball all over the place. And I feel like that was maybe just a nerves thing his first couple of outings. Now that he's settled down a little bit, I think he's been significantly improved. And I'm actually really, really excited about what he could look like going forward because I've been a big fan of this dude since he was at Alabama. So, yeah, really good outing from him. And he's ERA, I think, is now sub-3 after this outing. Very small sample size. I'm not trying to say he's going to be like a 2.8 ERA guy long term, but for whatever it's worth, he's been pretty productive at the major league level. Let's talk about Dylan Dingler behind the plate. Then we'll talk stuff. Okay, we'll do that right after this. First, though, got to talk to you all about our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in the game with your friends while they are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am truly a part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in. As always, Dylan Dingler behind the plate. Obviously went 0 for at the plate. Well, he's a catcher, so everything he does is kind of at the plate. With a bat in his hands was not very productive, but with a glove in his hands was significantly more productive. There we go. That's how we're going to do it. Yeah, like he should have walked out of this game with 2 caught stealing attempts and a few blocked pitches as well. I don't know why anyone runs on him. Like, it feels like he just is mowing down every runner. And like, it's funny, when a catcher does that, the crowd or coach reaction is like, oh, like, don't run on him, right? Like, that's the chirp. And it's like, well, we're getting a lot of outs. So maybe it's, as AJ Hinch puts it all the time, it's ultimately the race to 27 outs. And you're giving away a couple by running on Dingler as consistently as opponents have been recently. He's been unbelievable. He's been one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And this is his first full season. That is so exciting for the future of this team. It is. I cannot undersell the importance of having someone as productive as Dingler has been this year for the Detroit Tigers going forward. Again, we're in first full year. Unbelievably exciting stuff. Want to talk about Jay Flair. So Jack Flaherty didn't feel like it was, I don't know, like maybe I'm being too nitpicky and like, honestly, who really cares? Like, what do people really care about, like what segment or what section like players fall in? No, like, I feel like, we're just here to talk ball and talk analysis. The structure is just for clarity and simplicity sake more than anything. Easier to track and follow along. But I didn't feel like it was a terrible outing. He got a quality start at the end of the day. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. The home run being where the 3 runs came off of. He has a 4.8 ERA now on the season. And again, I'll say it. I mentioned it earlier. I'll say it again. If Gleyber Torres can tag a runner right in front of him, then that Nick Kurtz play maybe doesn't even happen. And like the home run maybe doesn't even happen. And yeah, it just felt like an all or nothing kind of outing. And that's why I ultimately have him in stuff. And on the side of things that went right, he was still all over the place. Like he still had 4 walks in 6 innings. Like he still did allow, that was not a good pitch to Kurtz. Like that's why it was hit 9,000 feet. You know what I mean? Like that's that is all on him, the good and the bad. 7 strikeouts. He had a ton of swing and miss in this game. When he was hitting his spots, he was great. But there wasn't any close misses. Everything was either right where he wanted or nowhere close. And the stuff that was nowhere close ultimately cost him and the team. Hopefully he can build on this because, again, I think the stuff was actually pretty good. I think that's the best curveball he's maybe had all year. But we'll see. It's just been a roller coaster of a ride for Flaherty here in 2025 so far. Riley Greene in this game, he gets a hit in his first at bat. His average was at 301 after that. Then he goes 0 for the rest of the game. So now it's back to 299. Reese Olson had another outing in Toledo earlier this week. Not a great outing in terms of results, but I'll be so real with you. I could not care less. The amount of times we have seen a starting pitcher get like hit around in a rehab start or like hit around and then called up to the majors and then they're just like fine, it is at such a high number at this point. I could not care less about like I'm sure he's like trying stuff and getting a feel for grips again and you know, just trying different pitches in different situations to test confidence levels and whatnot. I could not care less about the fact that he gave up a few runs to a AAA team. The thing that I care about is that he threw a lot of changeups, the most he's thrown since being on rehab assignment. And I'm sure that was intentional. And that's the only thing I really care about. Everyone says he's healthy. The Tigers haven't made a decision yet. They very, very notoriously wait until the last possible second. I think AJ Hinch literally said we're going to wait till the last possible second when asked about it from Evan Petzold of the Free. So we'll see, but I would imagine that puts him in line to make his next start in Detroit, hopefully. Other minor league news, Max Clark home runs in back-to-back ball games, which is great. We talked earlier this week about how the Tigers are looking for a little bit more of a power surge out of him and a little bit of improvement against lefties. But he's still been so good this year. And I think that's important to remember too. And you see back-to-back home runs. You see back-to-back games with a home run, and it'll certainly turn your head. So we'll see where he ends up here going forward, if that ends up being an Erie or not. And then Kevin McGonigal is superhuman. Like he hit another homer as well. Also, we'll talk about this on Monday, our next off day as well. I saw one of the worst trade proposals I've ever seen in my life this week, which seems to be a recurring theme. I don't remember. Maybe it's just because the last time the Tigers were good was like literally before social media was as prevalent in my life as it is now. But like, I don't remember ever seeing when the Tigers were buyers before, again, over 10 years ago. So like fair, but seeing as many just ridiculous and absurd trade packages in the media, like Kevin McGonigal for Nolan Arenado. What world are we living in? Nolan Arenado, that is asinine. Okay. Maybe if that trade was made 10 years ago, I would, when Kevin McGonigal was in like elementary school and Nolan Arenado was, the best third baseman in baseball. Maybe that's a trade I would consider. In 2025, you literally could not pay me the way the Rockies did with Arenado to accept that deal. Yeah, the only other thing I really want to bring up is like I think it's pretty clear that you need to add a starting pitcher at the deadline. And again, we'll talk about that way more on our next off day show. I think that's Tuesday's episode for y'all. I keep saying Monday because that's when I will record it. But I think it's pretty apparent with the way Flaherty's been pitching that you're going to have to go add a starting pitcher, go add a starter there at the deadline if you want to make a run and be effective in October. Game 3 of this series, Dietrich ends against Jeffrey Springs, ends making his Tigers debut. Super exciting, in his 30s, back to Major League Baseball for the first time in like 4 years. And then that time he hadn't pitched in like 4 years as well at the Major League level. Again, he was around in the minors a lot. Has gone overseas, played in multiple different foreign leagues. Just all the credit in the world, man. All the credit in the world to guys like that. And I hope he does great. Again, we talked about it yesterday. There's a chance this dude starts and then is DFA'd. So I hope he enjoys every second of it. And I hope he absolutely dices the Athletics and gets the Tigers a win. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow after you make us your first listen. Make Locked On MLB Game Night your second listen. A recap of all the games in the league right after the final out literally 7 days a week, every single night. You'll see my ugly mug on there sometimes. It's a great time. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.